February. It's February, right?
It was February. You're right, but it was
not last February.
Not last February. Yeah.
Time flies.
Pandemic time.
But
still messing with people.
During this expansion, we have seen all sorts of burnout and people stepping away with some bitterness, and in many ways it mimics a lot of what Cataclysm did, in that the reason Cataclysm got the frustration it did for WoW is that it's when they did a lot of rebuilding to help the game age, that they had to deviate part of their limited resources and say, we're going to try to keep the game current. Like Joker said, you got to choose one or the other. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to do 60% on the new stuff, and we're going to take this 40%, we're going to work the back end. And it's easy to say we're excited they're going to rework coils until you find out that that's why your job didn't get redone, or whatever we false equivalency, because he never comes out and says it like that. But we go, well, I can point at this thing that they did that clearly took a lot of effort that I don't like, and I can point at this thing that I definitely wanted, that they'd expressed interest in, and that was the exchange. And so I think Endwalker's had a lot of that frustration as they've come in and made huge investments in how this game's going to age.
I think the thing too is like,
sorry.
No, go ahead, Chili. You have a second.
What I'm going to say is probably going to sound like a swear word to a lot of people. And a lot of people are going to have flashbacks to certain other video games that have done this, because it can cause a lot of issues. But I think one of the easiest ways for them to fix the leveling issue right now is because, as you said, you get so many skills high level. And we all know what I'm going to say. We're going to have to, if they squish down the levels, it would force the levels, the job abilities to be lower level, and it would make you feel like you're gaining skills a lot faster. The downside of this is, of course, is ultimate. That would be the big problem. But it would mean that you would get, if you went back down to 60, imagine how many skills and how fast you would start getting them again. And you would get your AoEs really fast, probably like 15, 20.
The other struggle is that they have to rebalance every trial, the dungeons. Like the thing is, like, it's not that it wouldn't be a solution, but
people
there is like
unsynced.
Yeah,
all the time though. Like that's how people just progress them.
Well, that's not how. I mean, that's not. I guess that's
when you're adding in different abilities, though. It's basically like saying we've synced your stats, but you have all the abilities that this fight did not have. Like you did not, like, back in time. So it's that. Oh, you can Red Mage can res at level 30 instead of level 50, whatever. Well, you're now running into content that was designed where Red Mage didn't have that res. Does this affect the overall impact of it? Does that make sense?
Right. But they do. But one of the things is that currently they do adjust. For instance, when there is some change in that, they do adjust potencies. Like there is some balancing done with that. I'm just saying that, like, if you do a mass squishing of you, instead of, imagine all of Heavensward, you now have twice the abilities. You're going to have to do a lot of rebalancing. My point is not that that's not viable. My point is just that is going to be a lot of work throughout the entirety of the game. So that is going to come at development cost time. Because
I just wonder how important that is, because like I was saying, I get what you're saying. If you're playing everything on level, that makes sense. But like when I went and I had to do like trials or dungeons or something, I unsynced it.
Yeah, but you're at level 90, expecting people to be able to go. So, for instance, if you're a new player, if you unsync and you're level 47 and you unsync a 40 dungeon, because that's.
But if you're a new player, you wouldn't know that there was a difference of that you weren't supposed to have those abilities because you're new.
Right, but my point is you can be a new player and you're not at a level where you can do that. So expecting that people are just going to unsync it as the standard way of play is not reasonable and not what a lot.
I'm just saying if they squished everything down and people got abilities that they weren't supposed to, only the people that have been playing it before would understand that this isn't what it used to be like. For those that are playing it new, it would be a completely new experience for them, so they wouldn't know that they're not supposed to have this AoE at this level.
My point is not that people aren't supposed to have it. My point is if you make dungeons, okay, everyone has 90 level abilities and are clearing it out and wiping it out. Like, you are basically saying that the entire game is just a snooze fest, learn nothing, kill everything one shot until you get to the end game, which is, I think.
I'm not saying you get 90 level. I'm just saying that you wouldn't get them. You'd get those at 60, which would be a higher level than it's something. It'd be hard to balance. It'd be interesting to see. And we're saying 60, but for all we know, the level squish, if it happened, could be 70. We don't know.
I do think a level squish could work. I'm just of the mind that like there's a lot of times like solutions that are presented that I worry about because they are going to, while solve one problem, create another one that I think it may actually be worse for the long-term health of the
And as I said, the biggest issue would be, in my opinion, out of all it would be ultimate. Like, because ultimate sinks you down, and like it's designed around those abilities at those levels. Ultimate is the reason why I think the level squish wouldn't work properly.
I
But
actually
apart from that,
I think
I
would've
disagree
quit the
because
game
I
if
think
was
anyone
supposed to
who's
do it
doing
on
an
sync.
ultimate will be willing to learn. Would be willing to figure out like, okay, this is the weirdness
Yeah,
that I have to deal with.
but it just wouldn't work as well as it wouldn't be designed perfectly for what it is. Like, I'm not saying it wouldn't work. I'm just saying that is the biggest elephant in the room, in my opinion.
Yeah, I see. I guess the thing is, ultimate affects like what 2-3% of players, maybe 5%. And then they're also the people at that level of expertise. You could literally give them double the abilities that they use out in nothing other than ultimate, and that would be a thing that people are like, okay, well, that's like the challenge of ultimate, right? Or that's the weirdness of ultimate, and I think people would be willing to pull it up with that. So I don't even think that's really an issue that would be that big of an issue.
WoW does a different type of syncing, and I will tell you the abilities come on too fast. It feels good as a long-time player, but when I move to a class that I have not spent a lot of time with because I'm not an Omni in WoW, and so I still have the ability to kind of pick up a class and treat it like it's new. Anytime I've gone back and added a class, I'm not playing it well. Like I'm not learning. So I don't know that there's an easy solution.
Yeah, like I said,
All of they could just simplies are going to overlook some element of the game. You're either going to leave new players. If Brian's kids decide to play this game, they're not going to have a background in RPGs. You're going to leave them behind. If you don't leave them behind, when we bring over people from Destiny or from World of Warcraft that have a gaming experience, you're going to hold them back. And so like you're always trying to solve a complex set of things that's being enjoyed by a wide variety of players who have a different skill level, a different set of expectations, and a different set of priorities. Because like when I played the game, I just wanted to progress. When I came through the first time, I skipped all the story because I came from WoW and I wanted to catch up with my friends. And what you do in WoW when you catch up with your friends is you skip all the quest text, you knock out the quests, you get caught up in level, you go grab whatever the easiest set of gear that gets you decent is, and then you join them. How fast can you do this? How many hours can I play per night so I can catch them in 2 weeks or less? And so that's how I came into Final Fantasy. In A Realm Reborn, I came in and joined a bunch of 1.0 players, and I blasted through it. And it wasn't a good experience, but it was a feasible experience. So I guess my question would be, what can you do with skills so that it's feasible for the largest number of people?